The 2025 season has officially kicked off, and against all odds, Ferrari seems to be living up to expectations, despite the absolute mess they went through during pre-season testing in Bahrain. Let's be real, when Ferrari started the tests with more issues than a soap opera, people thought this season would be yet another episode of Prancing Horse Meltdown. And when Lewis Hamilton announced his move, skeptics were ready with their popcorn, betting on how long it would take for the seven-time champ to regret his decision. A lot of folks assumed that Hamilton would struggle to adapt, that he'd spend half the season lost in the new car settings or complaining about, "This is not how we did it at Mercedes." But no, the man is proving that age is just a damn number. At 40, he's still fast, still sharp, and now backed by VUR, which is basically Ferrari's way of saying, "Here's everything you need, just go win, please." So, can Hamilton find his groove again after VUR's latest statement? Can Ferrari trust that he's the man to bring them their long-lost championship glory? Because let's be honest, no driver has won the title at 40+ since the freaking 60s. And yet, here we are, with Hamilton strutting into Maranello like he's about to rewrite the history books. His move to Ferrari? Oh, it definitely left a lot of people speechless. But deep down, we all knew it was bound to happen sooner or later. However, once the dust settled, a new wave of doubts kicked in. Is Lewis too old for this gig? Has Father Time finally caught up with him? Some even whispered that he signed with Ferrari purely for the brand, for the marketing, for the red merchandise sales. Basically, to cash in before calling it quits. And what does Lewis say? "I could race until I'm 50 if I wanted to." Alright, Grandpa, we hear you. But let's be honest, his biggest challenge isn't proving that he can still drive fast. It's proving that he can survive against his own damn teammate, Law. Because let's not forget, Ferrari has been the Charles Leclerc show for years. Everything, from strategy to car development, has revolved around him. And now, suddenly, Ferrari has two alpha drivers in the same garage, both with egos big enough to block out the sun. If you think this won't turn into an internal civil war at some point, you're delusional. Leclerc isn't going to just step aside and let Hamilton waltz in like the king of Maranello. If anything, the real battle for the title might just be happening inside Ferrari, not against Red Bull or Mercedes. For now, though, the momentum seems to be leaning towards Leclerc. But slowly, the narrative is shifting towards Hamilton as well. The big question: will he be ready to fight for wins from day one? Or will it take him time to shake off the new team rust? Either way, VUR made one thing very clear. This is not a retirement tour. Hamilton didn't sign up just to be Ferrari's PR mascot or to sip espresso in Italy while reminiscing about his old Mercedes days. Nope, he came here to win. He came here to grab his 8th title. Or, if things go well, maybe even more. And speaking of getting comfortable in his new home, Forer had some interesting insights. According to him, whenever you join a new team, it's always a bit of a mess at first. New faces, new processes, a new damn steering wheel, and 100 different settings to memorize. It's a headache. But despite all that, Hamilton's preseason tests were 3 intense days of trial by fire, and now he's locked and loaded for Melbourne. Ferrari's expectations? Nothing short of absolute domination. They want the title in both championships, and they're fully aware that it won't be a walk in the park, especially with McLaren lurking in the background. But let's be real, Ferrari has one of the most stacked driver lineups in years. If they get the car development right, big if, knowing Ferrari, they might just be unstoppable. Of course, Brain and the rest of the Ferrari masterminds didn't exactly reveal all their cards during testing. They're keeping things under wraps for now, but if there's one thing we know about Ferrari, it's that when they're on form, they can be lethal. Now, the only thing left to see is whether Hamilton's gamble pays off, or if this will be one of the most chaotic career moves in F1 history. One thing's for sure, this season is about to be wild. Buckle up. If there's one thing Ferrari has been banking on more than any other team, it's the unique characteristics of the circuits they'll be facing early in the season. See, Bahrain? That track is a rear-limited nightmare. And honestly, it doesn't exactly play to the strengths of the brand new SF25. It's like asking a heavyweight boxer to win a fight using only his left pinky. It can work, but it's definitely not ideal. Now, contrast that with Melbourne, a circuit infamous for its front-limited nature. And guess what? Ferrari's brand new pull rod suspension should, in theory, give them a juicy performance boost down under. That means no time to waste. Zero. Nada. None. Because if there's anything last season taught us, it's that securing early wins can make or break a championship. Just look at Verstappen in 2024. Dude bagged 5 wins right out of the gate and basically had one hand on the trophy before half the grid even figured out their car setups. By the time things got more competitive, he was already sipping champagne with his feet up, while the rest of the field scrambled to play catch-up. But 2025? Oh hell no! That script isn't getting a sequel. VUR has made it clear, this season is shaping up to be a war zone, one that might remind us a lot of 2021. And yes, we all remember how that year went down. Chaotic, dramatic, controversial as hell. But at the same time, it gave us some of the most electrifying wheel-to-wheel battles in F1 history. And guess who's stepping back into the eye of the storm this time? Yep, none other than Sir Lewis Hamilton himself. When it comes to 2025's expectations, it's crystal clear. Ferrari isn't here to mess around. VUR laid it out bluntly. Both Hamilton and Lier have the pace to win Grands Prix and battle for the world title. The mission: dominate. Both drivers are expected to be at the top of their game, raking in wins like they're collecting infinity stones. But when it comes to the championship itself, that's where things get tricky. Ferrari isn't delusional. They know they won't have a clear answer until the second half of the season. But what they do know is that this could be the most thrilling, nail-biting, hair-pulling season of the last 3 decades. Why? Because we're not looking at a 2-horse race anymore. We've got 4 teams all breathing down each other's necks, and Ferrari is dead set on coming out on top. For them, success in 2025 isn't just about having a rocket ship of a car, it's about playing the long game, making every development count, and getting the absolute maximum out of their drivers. And let's talk about that for a second, because confidence in Hamilton is sky high right now. He knows he's got a beast of a teammate alongside him, but instead of seeing that as a problem, he sees it as a weapon. And why shouldn't he? When asked about their partnership, Lewis casually dropped the bomb that he and Lier are the best driver duo on the grid. And let's be real, he's not exactly wrong. But being the best also means dealing with insane expectations, and the entire F1 world will be breathing down their necks, waiting to see if Ferrari can deliver the title they've been chasing for far too damn long. It's actually a very realistic mindset when you think about it. If Lewis lets his guard down even a little, it could completely derail his ambitions at Ferrari. And let's get something straight. Hamilton isn't here for a one-and-done season. Oh no, this is a long-term mission. Ferrari believes in him, in Lier, in their whole damn project, and that kind of belief is contagious. They know they have the strongest lineup in the paddock, and settling for anything less than a championship would be an absolute joke. On the other hand, though, success won't just fall into their laps. And that's exactly where Marco came in with his own take on the situation. He pointed out that Hamilton chose Ferrari. He wasn't forced, wasn't lured in with some overhyped contract, he wanted this challenge. And when Lewis Hamilton sets his mind on something, he doesn't half-ass it. He's going to throw everything into making this work. But let's be real, these are still the early days. Sure, Hamilton has that supernatural ability to adapt like a damn machine, but that doesn't mean things will be smooth sailing. If Ferrari doesn't give him the tools to fight, and if he starts seeing his title chances slipping away, we could see his motivation dip. And that's a risk Ferrari cannot afford. Meanwhile, lurking in the background like a silent assassin is McLaren. And let's just say Visser isn't dumb, he knows exactly where the biggest threat is coming from. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are both entering the season with the same mentality as Hamilton and Lier. No number 1 driver, no favoritism, just pure, unfiltered competition. And if there's one thing more terrifying than a fast driver, it's a young fast driver who's hungry as hell to prove himself. And McLaren, they've got 2 of them. So, as we head into 2025, Ferrari isn't just fighting against Red Bull anymore. They've got a McLaren duo breathing down their necks, a Mercedes squad desperate to get back on top, and an entire season that's already shaping up to be absolute mayhem. The biggest question now? Who's actually going to come out on top when the dust settles? Buckle up, because this season is about to get absolutely fucking wild. With the 2025 season just getting started, Ferrari is already being labeled as the big favorite to at least snatch the Constructors' Championship. But hold on, before anyone starts printing those championship t-shirts, Vera has thrown in a reality check, and oh boy, it's a spicy one. I think people are seriously sleeping on McLaren, he pointed out. They're actually in a much better position than us. And honestly, he might be onto something. This is the final season under the current regulations, which means that squeezing out any extra performance is becoming harder than finding a sensible FIA decision. Sure, Ferrari may have racked up the most points over the last 8 races of 2024, but let's not kid ourselves. McLaren had a genuine performance advantage. The only reason they didn't completely capitalize on it was due to minor errors, some wasted opportunities, and just a sprinkle of good old bad luck. If Ferrari wants to turn the tide, they need to win at least 2 or 3 more races than McLaren. And if they can pull that off, well, then we're talking about a real shot at glory. But while Ferrari fans are busy debating how many trophies they'll be stacking at Maranello, there's a rather large elephant in the room. Can Hamilton actually fight at the front? Not everyone is convinced. And among the doubters is none other than Ralf Schumacher, the younger brother of the Michael Schumacher, aka the guy who turned Ferrari into an unstoppable force. So, when Ralf speaks, people tend to listen. And let's just say his verdict on Hamilton's Ferrari adventure? Not exactly optimistic. While the Tifosi are still basking in the excitement of having Hamilton in red, Ralf has taken a more skeptical approach, saying something that, whether you agree or not, comes from someone who knows what he's talking about. His take: if anyone is going to thrive at Ferrari, it's law. His reasoning is pretty straightforward. When a driver switches teams, there's always a learning curve. No matter how fast, how experienced, or how decorated you are, it takes at least 6 to 8 months before you can fully unlock the potential of your new environment. Every single detail matters. Getting used to the car, understanding the mechanics, knowing how to extract the most from the engineers, and just overall feeling at home in the team. And according to Ralf, that's exactly why Hamilton's quest for an 8th title with Ferrari is wildly unrealistic. So, with all this in mind, here's the million-dollar question. Is Hamilton a real threat not just to the rest of the grid, but also to Ferrari's golden boy from the very first race in Melbourne? And more importantly, does he actually have what it takes to win that record-breaking 8th World Championship? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to dive deeper into Ferrari's alleged sandbagging tactics,